All right, so here's your homework sheet. We have a quadratic equation equal to 0. That's what we're looking for. We're going to solve this by factoring. So 12 and 7, and then find two numbers that multiply to 12 and add to 7. And then once we have each one, the two factors, x plus 4 and x plus 3, we're going to take each factor equal to 0 and solve it. So x plus 4, we're going to subtract 4, and then one answer is there. X plus 3 equal to 0, subtract 3. And those are your two answers. Number 2, why don't you try it? Again, can you factor it? It's equal to 0. Find two numbers that multiply to negative 9 and add to negative 8. So it's negative 9 and positive 1. At this point, we can just write down the factor x minus 9 and make it equal to 0, x plus 1 and make it equal to 0, and then solve each one separately. So we're going to add 9 to both sides. There's our answer. We're going to subtract 1 to both sides, and there's our answer. So one answer is positive 9, and the other answer is negative 1. Number 3, let's solve this by factoring. That's negative 30 and negative 1. What are the two numbers that fit here? Are negative 6 and positive 5. So we take each factor that we just found and make them equal to 0 and then solve them. So we're going to add 6. We're going to subtract 5. And we have our two answers. Number 4, it is not equal to 0. So step 1, make it equal to 0. So we're going to add 15 to both sides. Now, be careful. I can't go negative 8x plus 15. They're not like terms. So they can only go beside each other. Then, when it's equal to 0, now I can set this up. And now I can factor. So two numbers that multiply to 15. So those numbers are going to be negative 5 and negative 3. They also add to negative 8. Then I take each factor. So x minus 5 equal to 0. X minus 3 equal to 0. And then add and add to solve it. So add 5 to both sides. Add 3 to both sides. And you're done. All right, solve this equation, make it equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 9x. Two numbers that multiply to negative 10 and combine to negative 9. So that's going to be negative 10 and positive 1. Then take each factor equal to 0 and solve it. So I'm going to add 10 to both sides. There's one answer. I'm going to subtract 1 to both sides. There's the second answer. Number 6, make it equal to 0. So we're going to subtract x and add 24 so that it's equal to 0. X squared, 12 take away 1 is 11x. And then I still have 24 here. So now it's equal to 0. Now I can factor it. So 24 and 11. Find the two numbers that fit, which are 8 and 3. Then take each factor, 8 and 3, make them equal to 0, and solve them. So we're going to subtract 8 to both sides. We're going to subtract 3 to both sides. And we have our two answers, negative 8 and negative 3. Number 7, make it equal to 0 first. So subtract 7x to both sides. Now it's equal to 0. Negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10. And now factor it. So two numbers that multiply to 16 and add to negative 10. So it's negative 8 and negative 2. Take each one equal to 0 In this case, we're going to add 8 to both sides and get the first answer. We're going to add 2 to both sides to get this answer. So one answer is positive 8, another answer is positive 2. Number 8, make it equal to 0. So add 1 to both sides. Now factor it. So two numbers that multiply to negative 4 and add to 3. So 4 and negative 1 fit. So x plus 4, and now solve it. X minus 1 equal to 0, and solve it. So one answer is negative 4, and the other answer is positive 1. All right, 2 left. So step 1 is to make them equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 3x and add 1. Subtract 3x and add 1. So I do the inverse of what I see so that it can be equal to 0. Next, combine like terms, negative 1 and negative 3. Together, that's negative 4x. Negative 46 plus 1 is negative 45. Then we're going to factor it with negative 45 and negative 4. So the two numbers that fit are negative 9 and 5. So we take both negative 9 and 5, write them as factors equal to 0, and then solve them by doing the inverse. So we're going to add 9 to both sides. That's x equals 9. We're going to subtract 5 to both sides, and that's x equals negative 5. Done. Last one. Step 1, make it equal to 0. So I'm going to add 8x. I'm going to add 2. By doing that, these eliminate, and I'm left with 0. On the right side, I have x squared. Negative 14 plus 8 is negative 6. And negative 18 plus 2 is negative 16. So those are my numbers, negative 16 and negative 6. So find two numbers that multiply to negative 16, combine to negative 6. That's negative 8 and 2. So then I write down negative 8 and 2. And then I solve them. So I'm going to add 8. So one answer is 8. I'm going to subtract 2. So the other answer is negative 2. Mr. G Math, over and out. Great job doing your homework. I hope it helped. Till next time.